Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I'm your host Max Kellerhalls, and with me today we have...
Hello, it is I, Donovan, once again.
And we are going to be talking about the recent Star Wars television show that is on Disney Plus, The Acolyte. Yeah, what can I say about this show that already hasn't been said on the internet on multiple different sides of every political spectrum?
That is indeed a really good question.
Like, okay, I'm just gonna say right off the bat, like, I am a straight white guy. And so if you don't want to hear an opinion from that, totally fine. I get it. But I'm just gonna be truthful to what I like and what I don't like. Because there are things in the show that I think are really good, and there are things in the show that I think are not. I don't know about you, Donovan, but that's just what I want to say right off the bat, because I know a lot of people are just gonna either come at us saying, like, you're Disney shills, you're Disney apologists, or they're gonna come at us saying like, "Oh, you're just a bunch of racists." And I'm like, well, no.
Well, in my defense, I'm black, so...
Well, shit. Can't beat that.
Can't beat that.
Yeah. I kind of want to hear what your overall thoughts of the show are before I go into anything.
To summarize my entire thoughts of the show, it has been a very mediocre piece of Star Wars fan fiction I just witnessed.
Yes, calling this Star Wars fanfic
Yeah,
is exactly what it is.
I don't know, it feels like an aspiring writer, keyword aspiring, thought of some really good ideas and then just kind of completely messed it up.
Yeah. Okay, if we're gonna alright, I was gonna start off with things that I like, but if we're just gonna go off that, this might just be the worst writing in Star Wars I have ever seen. And Star Wars isn't known for the best writing in the whole frickin' world, but it's been writing that has been sufficient and has told a story that has multiple different layers and can hit on so many emotional fronts. This does not do that. The only emotional front that I got out from this has been laughter and annoyance.
Yeah. Honestly, I think for me, The Last Jedi is still absolute rock bottom for Star Wars, but probably right above that, the next floor. Honestly, I'm not caught up with all the Star Wars shows, but I had to see this because I heard too many things online and yeah, this is how I don't even have the words at this point.
I don't think this is the best Star Wars anything that has come out, but I don't also think it's the worst. I can't tell you right now what I think is the worst. I think every bit of Star Wars anything has some really good stuff in it, but like all the bad Star Wars stuff, it's just poorly mishandled and a lot of really good ideas that don't really go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think all the problems that the sequel trilogy had are in this show, where it's a lot of really interesting ideas that are kind of just not really pushed to their 10th degree, and a lot of questions are just kind of left up in the air at the end of the day. There's problems of characters saying things that they should obviously know. The biggest one that I can still go to in my head is there's that episode where they're in the forest and they clearly have noticed that, oh yeah, these bugs that are attracted to light will come out and fight you. And I'm thinking to myself okay, cool. And then Yord, when Osha tells him hey, turn off your lightsaber, and he's like, why should I? I'm like, motherfucker, you know these bugs are out there. You saw it.
A lot of these characters are just straight up stupid.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
One of the big plot points for one of the characters is he really wants to go home. Nut up. You're a Jedi. Dude.
That was so stupid.
Of all the things that a Jedi could be I don't like this. I want to go home. I really want to go home. And I'm thinking to myself, Jedi at least should be, bred out of them the idea of, you have a home. You were taken from it!
I don't know why they decided to write him like a moody teenager who doesn't want to go on a family trip. What?
it just comes across as like, okay, we got to get characters from point A to point B. How are we going to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, he's homesick. But Jedi aren't supposed to have attachments to stuff, even like home. Well, this one does. I'm like, fine, okay. I guess he just wants to really go home.
And it's like, go home and do what?
Yeah.
Jedi training?
And then when he eventually does go home, he just says, nah, and then goes chills out in the most backwater planet imaginable. It just does nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Just stupid stuff like that, and I'm like, the one thing I will say about this show is that Asians are the best thing about this show.
That is interesting statement, but I'll let you continue.
Okay, the reason why I say that is there's two characters in this show that have made me want to watch it to the end and see what happens. The first one is Soul, played by Jae Jun Lee, the guy who played number 456 in Squid Game. He's like the main Jedi in this show. Not the main character, we'll get into her later. But like he's the main Jedi in this show. Like he's like the pinnacle of what a Jedi should be. And I really liked his character. I don't like what they did with his character, but I like his character.
Yeah, Soul was the GOAT, and then they did the plot twist that everyone saw coming.
Yeah, I know, but like I like a lot of his like mannerisms. I like that he took like the typical Jedi like characteristics of like very drawn and noble, but also has a lot of like really good heart to him. Like he cares about like teaching and wanting to be like an upstanding person to his Padawan. I like that stuff. Like I like seeing the Jedi of how they're supposed to be, like good upstanding people who want to help out. And I think like he really brought that to this role. And there's a lot of other really cool things behind the scenes of this character. Like apparently the actor learned English for this show.
Oh my goodness.
I think he does a really good job. Like, I mean, there's some times where like the accent is very thick and like, did he just say the virgins did this? But I really think he did a good job. And like, even though there is somewhat not really a language barrier, but at least like a barrier of like communication that is kind of removed, he still like it brought a lot of heart and emotion to the character that really made me like him.
Yeah.
And then the other character the other Asian, I guess we could kind of spoil. I mean, it's kind of the most obvious plot twist in the show, but I think his name is Manny Jacinto as the Sith Lord. I really liked him, even though like it's kind of obvious in the beginning, like, oh, he's gonna be it because he's the only other character on the show who's on that planet.
Yeah.
I liked his performance when he is the Sith Lord. I just really like the mannerisms and like it's a different kind of Sith Lord than we have seen from any other Star Wars thing. Like every other Sith Lord has been some black and red alien or some really decrepit old guy or a moody white guy.
Yeah. He's fresh and in the best way possible.
Yeah.
They made villains cool again.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I really liked about this show. And the moments we get with him and our main character are what made me more interested in the show of, like, seeing someone go towards the dark side. Like, I thought that was much more interesting than any other show we've had seen, or any other Star Wars thing where it's mostly about moving towards the light. And, yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, those two characters are what made me really care about this show. I mean, is there anything you want to say about those characters before we move on to like what I think is the best thing about this show?
Anything else I have to say? I feel like I should save it for later.
All right, because I think it's not good, is it?
Yeah, no, it's literally like the one complaint, but you know, that's for later.
All right, I'll give you that. But okay, then I think like what people have been raving about, the lightsaber fights and choreography in general is incredible.
Yeah, we cannot stress this enough. This is some of the best lightsaber fights.
I agree. I think it's like some of the best choreography. It's so creative. Like they bring back this metal from Legends that is able to like short out lightsabers, and implementing that into the choreography was really awesome because it adds this element of like, oh, these things that are like indestructible weapons are now destructible.
Yeah.
and the way they used it in the choreography and just the fights overall was just really awesome. This motherfucker uses his head as a weapon.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome, like him just like leaning into like the hits, because a lot of Jedi, like the move is to cut off the arm or cut off the head. So just taking away that ability to do that is just really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are like, why does he have that helmet? Why does it look like that? Personally, I think the helmet looks pretty cool.
I've seen people online say he looks like a freaking shark head or something. I'm like,
I like
yeah.
it. I like it. I think he looks cool. Like, I've heard people say he looks like Smilo Ren.
Milo Ren. Yeah, that's definitely it.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's like a really cool helmet design. Knowing that it's much more than just
A helmet.
yeah, a helmet that looks cool. It's an actual like defensive weapon. I think that's pretty cool. And like it adds something different to the character, and I like it. And, like, because other than that, he just wears like a poncho. Dude, that motherfucker got ripped. That guy brought out the gun show, man. Holy shit. I remember looking at that guy and I was like, that dude, like you could see all the muscles.
Yeah.
So when like he kills Yord, spoiler, with just his bare hands, I'm like, I buy it. I remember like going into that episode, I was like, okay, I know this character, and this character are gonna make it out. I was right about one of those characters making it out. I did not expect them to kill off Yord or Jeki. I liked her character for the little bit that she's in it, but I'm also like, damn, they just got rid of her. Like, that's a pretty big name actress for this show that's kind of got like a bunch of like people I've never really seen before. But yeah, they just killed her off, and I was like, oh my god, Jesus. All right, this show isn't pulling back. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's moments in the show that are like really good and really interesting, but then it's just followed up by like some of the stupidest character decisions, character writing, story progression I have ever seen in a TV show.
Yeah, that's like, oh my goodness.
Like, I think my biggest problem with this show, or there's a lot of big problems with this show, is there's a lot of episodes that I feel like could have been just combined into one big episode. Specifically the flashback episode at the Witch Coven and the episode that does have the lightsaber fight. Like, the episode before that is just them walking through the forest. And nothing else happens.
Yeah, just about nothing else happens.
Yeah. Like, they're trying to build character, but, like, they also do just some of the dumbest stuff imaginable on the whim. And I just, like, okay, I guess now we're just doing this. Like, this character just completely changed their entire philosophy on life in the span of, like, 15 minutes.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
Rough.
Like,
that's a rough estimate.
At least keep what they have in this show and just made it like half the season, and then the other half of the season is whatever they wanted to do in a possible season 2. Because a lot of this show just really feels like not much happened at the end of the day. I mean, a couple Jedi are dead, but like in the grand scheme of things, they kind of just wipe it under the rug.
Yeah, that's roughly what happens, you know?
Yeah,
and
like
it didn't happen, but you know,
exactly. Yeah,
and it didn't.
I feel like everything that was revealed in the Witch Coven episode, again, should have just been one episode. Imagine if they just combined those 2 episodes and you get to see both sides in real time. That way you're really left conflicted. Instead, Yeah, instead you're like, for most of the show, you're just like, okay, we know this happened at the Witch Coven, so now I'm just waiting to see what the truth is. And then when the truth gets revealed, you're like, don't really care.
Oh, what a surprise! The thing we thought was gonna happen because it's obvious actually happened.
Exactly.
What do you know?
Exactly. And alright, let's just get into it. I think this is probably the worst main character in a Star Wars thing I've ever seen. And it's not because she's black or a girl. I just think she's a bad character.
I'm thinking they did a pretty bad job with Rey, but I think that they did a bad job with all the characters in the last 3 movies.
Here's the thing. I at least know what Rey is as a person. Like, I know what she wants. I know what her end goal is. And she has somewhat of a personality. Tell me one thing about Osha or May that doesn't involve them just wanting to look for each other.
You see, yeah, there's nothing else to their character.
Yeah, their only thing that makes them interesting is what everybody else is putting on them. One wants to be a Jedi, one just kind of wants to be a witch. And then when they can't get what they want, they just decide, all right, I'll just see where this goes. I don't know what she is like a person. I don't know if she has any friends. And this is for both. I don't know anything about these characters. And we've had 8 episodes to learn about this. You know what I mean?
I think so.
I mean, there's stuff where it's just like, okay, I know that Osha wanted to be a Jedi, but couldn't get that. So now she's just kind of aimlessly wandering the galaxy. And I know that May wants revenge on what happened to her mom and her sister.
I feel like the more I think about it, the more I realize these characters are just papers.
Exactly.
You know?
They are what they are described on whatever Instagram post that Star Wars released when in promotion for this. That is it. That is their character. I really do believe that Amandla Steinberg tried to bring as much as she could to this roles.
Yeah.
Because admittedly, it is very hard to play two very distinct characters that are also related to each other. That is very difficult. However, I think it just makes the overall plot way too convoluted.
Yeah. They're already going for a lot with this almost bonkers plot twist that I didn't care about it.
Yeah. The show is really, really dependent on you giving a shit about these two sisters. And I don't.
Yeah. The third plot twist is stupid, and I don't want to talk about the ending yet, but...
Yeah, oh, her being the same person? And having that go nowhere?
You can say that about literally any twin because they look the same.
Well, they're like, oh, they're the same person. I'm like, okay, but in what way and how? Like, okay, if they're, I know they're created by the Force, or they're created somehow. Somehow these witches, which, okay, I want to get into this. Like, these witches somehow were able to create life. But they never explain, like, okay, if she's the same person, then who's the original person?
Yes.
Or is it just like, oh shit, we wanted one and we got two? Shit. What exactly is the big deal about her being the same person? Because honestly, at the end of the day, I really just care about the fact that, like, hey, this person was just born out of nothing.
Yeah, that one's a little bit crazier, but like...
Yeah. And they make a big deal like, well, we couldn't prove it without the twin. And I'm like, yeah, you can.
Why?
I feel like you can.
Oh, I think it was because of the stupid thing, like the stupid M count thing, where they have the same exact number.
Even then, you could be like, hey, we have data of this other kid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
like,
you're right.
We have that. We have documented proof there was another kid that made a fire and got everybody killed, even though that's the lie, but still.
Yeah, I swear.
Okay, here's my biggest problem with the witches. I'm not a lesbian. But if I were, I think I would be a little offended. Think about it. They make a big deal about this as a witch coven that managed to create their own kids. It's a lesbian relationship of these two moms. One carried the kids through, and the other one did witch magic. Okay, now imagine you're a lesbian like couple who wants to have their kid, and this massive $1 million franchise is telling you, hey, the only way you can have a kid is through dark ritualistic magic.
Okay, I see the problem now.
See? Again, not a lesbian. I like women, but not a lesbian. But I would love to get like a lesbian's opinion on this particular plot point, because I'm thinking to myself, like, I would be kind of pissed and insulted, like, hey, the only way that I can have a family is like some weird dark ritualistic magic, and by not having a guy there means that it's inherently evil.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if those two were a lesbian couple or not. I don't know. They just did not give off that energy.
I thought they did, especially the Dathomirian lady with the spiky horns on her head, the Darth Maul lady.
Yeah.
And the main witch, the head witch.
Yeah.
Like, I thought those two had moments of like, oh, these two seem more than just like companions. They seem more like partners. because they also were like the moms, the direct moms of these two kids. I liked one of them, and the other one was just like lady who screams a lot.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that when they wrote that down, they were like, "Oh, this is gonna be great representation." And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm not even a part of that representation, and I'm kind of like, this seems a bit off.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, if we have any lesbian viewers and people who are like, "Oh yeah, like this guy's got a point," and if I'm way fucking off, let me know. But I just can't imagine that sits well with others.
It probably doesn't.
But that's like the big thing that I've been sitting on for weeks. I'm like, okay, maybe the show will kind of like explain like, hey, it's not this dark ritualistic magic. It was this other thing, and but they never explain it. They're at the end of the day, it's just like, nope, these two are a curse.
Yeah, they do not explain anything. They added in new force powers too, and it's like, what the heck is going on?
Here's the thing, I have no problem with them adding new lore in. I like the idea of getting to see different aspects of the Force.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. And a lot of people are like, well, now you're just saying that the Force that we know and love isn't the actual thing. No, that's not what they're saying. It's that the Force is something that just everything has, and that other people access it in very different ways. So, and the Jedi have just monopolized their version of it.
I wish they would a little bit more elaboration with these specific powers that the witches have in general. It's definitely different, and I want to see more of it.
I know, like some of my favorite stuff in like the Star Wars like expanded like stuff is the Night Sisters. I love the Night Sisters. They're awesome. Like Marin from Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor, one of my favorite characters to come out of Star Wars in a long time. But like they make a point saying like these aren't Night Sisters. These are something different. So I'm like, okay, let's get into that. No, they just do this really dumb dance and that's it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I feel like a Disney executive was like, make it LGBT friendly, and they wrote the cheesiest garbage they possibly could.
Yeah, it definitely comes across as like, hey, we have to fill out a checkbox here. For me, I have no problem like seeing different people represent themselves in Star Wars. It makes new stories and makes new things to enjoy for a wide range of people. My problem is when the quality isn't up to par. So like ultimately when the quality isn't there, it basically hurts everyone in the situation. Cuz then you got these trolls on the internet that are saying like, oh, woke Star Wars and this all like women can't be in Star Wars, gay people can't be in Star Wars, black people can't be in Star Wars. Like, no, shut the fuck up. No, that's not the problem here. The problem is bad quality ruining it for everyone else. Now they're going to take this instance and be like, well, now we're never going to do that again because it didn't work before. And now look where we're at. Everybody in this situation is now hurt.
Yeah. It's what happens when you try too hard to force diversity.
I don't think there is such thing as forced diversity when, like, in our real world, like, nothing is forced. People are just there.
I would describe it as is when you're actively pointing out something like someone's skin color or sexuality to the point where it's like cringe. That's what I consider forced diversity.
Like their character is not someone who likes this, and this. It's no, they're gay.
Yeah.
And that's it. Okay, I see what you mean. That I do have a problem with. Yeah, that's a big problem with this show. It's just like, what's this character? I don't know.
It feels like there's a lot of things they just force in here for no reason.
What is specifically would you say they try to force in?
I would say Osho with the dark side. It feels like they were kind of pushing it. So I remember there was this one. Remember when Osho was on that planet with the Sith guy?
Yeah, I remember that one.
It feels like they're giving too much attention to the fact that he was shirtless.
Well, for a second I was like, are they gonna show this guy's ass? But no, like I actually liked that episode because I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna getting into more of like this character, and I like getting to see Manny kind of bring like a different energy to a Sith Lord that's not like, because again, keep in mind the only other Sith Lord that we've had has been like Palpatine, and
Yeah.
Darth Vader, and those motherfuckers do not look good shirtless.
Well, no, they do not.
So I'm just saying, like, okay, this is different, and I mean, like, I'm curious to see this, like, master-apprentice relationship have more of a relationship-style angle.
Yeah.
And like, that being the case from the start, not how they did Rey and Kylo, which all of a sudden, they like each other, I guess?
Oh, whoa, they're gonna kissy-wissy?
A lot of things in this show really feel like, hey, we're going to get a season 2 to explain this, so we're just doing all set up for right now.
It feels like somebody had good ideas, but then they got watered down by Disney.
Yeah. Or, yeah.
It felt like there was too much potential with various aspects, and then Disney's like, no, we gotta Disney wash it. Bonk, bonk.
So I'm just thinking to myself, like, at what point in this development did they basically say, like, okay, we're going to focus on the dark side, and then Disney was just like, can't be showing those bad people. Like, come on, like, let's play in the dark a bit. Let's show, like, some, like, creepy shit. Like, they hint at, for a little bit, that Darth Plagueis is in this show.
Yes, for approximately 1 second.
Yeah. And I remember being like, oh, shit, is that who I think it is? And at the end of the episode, it's just like, I guess we'll never know. Do you honestly think this show is going to get a season 2?
They can try. I'm not sure. Because from a business standpoint, it might not, just due to all the negative reviews you got.
The only way I could see this show getting a season 2 is that they've already spent way too much fucking money on it. And they're like, look, we got to continue this to the end. You promised us 2 seasons. We're getting 2 seasons. If they do a season 2, they got to cut it off at that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, like, there's a morbidly curious side of me that wants to see season 2. Just to see if they can pull it off.
Honestly, I'm not interested in a season 2, but if they do make one and you're making a video on it, I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing too. It's just like, I know a lot of people have been saying, like, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Here's the thing though, like, as I said before, there are some good things in this show that did make me continue to the end, and like, again, if they do a season 2, I will be interested to see how they kind of continue this story, because we leave it off on not one of the best season finales I've ever seen, but like in a way where I'm like, okay, our characters are now on specifically good and bad sides of the board, and there's a clear plot going forward. And I want to see more of Osha exploring the dark side, and as a viewer, us exploring the dark side and see why people join this side. I mean, we've seen it through Darth Vader, but I would like to see more of, like, the actual training that goes into it. And they introduced something at the end of the show with that one senator that, honestly, should have been in there from episode fucking 1.
It really should have.
That was an interesting angle, and, like, really, like, this interesting ticking clock element of, like, oh shit, the Jedi have this, like, these senators and politicians on their fucking throat the entire time, basically saying, like, so what are you guys doing over here?
Anything interesting going on? Surely
Yeah.
you're not hiding any murders.
Yeah. Surely everything's going all right, right? And, like, that would have been a lot more interesting than them just kind of, like, dicking around the temple being like, hey, I heard something's going on over here. What should we do? Let's just wait and see what happens. 10 people are dead. Oh, shit. Again, at the end of the season, we learn, I mean, another very obvious twist, that the Khmer, the main Sith Lord in this show, is a former apprentice of Venestra, the green lady with the whip lightsaber.
I'm excited to see any character. It'd be her, because purple lightsaber.
Totally fair. I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in the show. Again, I know we're ragging on this show. 1, because it is fun. And 2, as I said before in, like, stuff like Madam Web, it's like, if you like something, you should be totally open to criticize it, because you want it to be better. You want them to succeed. You want your entertainment to be good. And I feel like people should be more open to criticism and listen to the criticism. That's why whenever people get online and just basically give out hate speech, it basically takes away any criticism that should be listened to. At the end of the day, I don't think a lot of people are going to listen to our review and take anything away from it, because they're just going to be like, well, again, it's just a bunch of like dweeby nerds online complaining about Star Wars. Nothing new. As a fandom, like, we should say, hey, we don't like this, but we like this, and we want to see more of this. Is there anything you want to say before we kind of wrap this up?
I think the ending was unbearably forced.
Hey, we gotta run away together, but I gotta wipe your mind. Like, what?
Yeah, no, there's not a single part about that wasn't the writers being like, oh, we gotta have a season 2.
Oh my god. I have a problem with, like, any media just basically erasing some character's mind. Because at the end of the day, you know they're gonna find some really convoluted way to get their memory back.
Yeah.
Why do it in the first place?
I also think in universe, like the stupid forced memory wipe is like it's such a bizarre concept. You could just do that to people.
Yeah, right?
I just like to believe it's just an extension of the Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, well, I think it is, but like just more of a dark side user's way of doing it. But I also think like that's a scary power.
Yeah.
Just
Oh guys, we gotta make a season 2. Oh yeah, I got it. Memory wipe. Because, yeah, that works.
Is it in canon? No? Well, fuck it, now it is. Oh, don't even get me started on canon stuff. When the internet was like, oh man, they're ruining Star Wars, like canon doesn't mean anything anymore. And I'm like, dude, the canon you're complaining about was in a fucking CD-ROM game. Yeah. They're like, that guy shouldn't be alive now. And like, who fucking cares? No one cares about the Coyote Mundi. So them being like, oh, he said this and this, and we should have, like, he shouldn't be there. Whatever. They wanted to have a character that we can somewhat recognize. Like, it's just stupid shit, I swear.
I don't even consider this show canon because it's a pretty mediocre piece of Star Wars fan fiction.
I just think it's so far removed from everything else we have seen that, like, at the end of the day, this isn't going to affect anything.
You do make a good point.
This isn't like Obi-Wan, where everything in that show now affects everything we have seen.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm also not really that mad at it as a show. I'm like, okay, well, at least they tried to do something in the High Republic, which I want to see more things out of the High Republic. I like the High Republic. I think it's a really cool idea. That's all I really have to say about this show. I didn't mean to be so angry about it, but, like, I guess when there's, like, 3 things I like about a show, most of it just kind of delves into anger.
Yeah.
But as they say, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to you liking this video. Sorry, I had to.
You know what? I completely understand.
While you're at it, why don't you subscribe? That way you can listen to all of our other reviews. We're also probably going to be doing another series of videos starting pretty soon. That's another pretty famous sci-fi franchise. More announcements on that later, but hope you guys enjoy what we have coming out in the near future. While you're at it, why don't you subscribe to our Patreon where you get to listen to all of our videos unedited. Donovan, is there anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I'm just like to believe that the characters in the show all at some point just get infected with Sugma.
I'm not. Bye.